Hello, folks. Pearson Castillo here. Um, I don't know whether it's going to be a solo stream tonight or if anyone's actually going to end up coming on. Um, I don't even know what the stream is going to be about. Fun fact. Um, I think I'm just going to ramble tonight. It's been a little bit since I had a stream where it was just me rambling on about whatever the hell I please. So I think that's what we're going to do tonight. Is just a talk stream. Just to um, not so much a hangout as a conversation. I'm looking for some interesting conversations and discussion of just really anything and everything that I come to mind with. Um, I'm gonna make sure we got the right microphone here, folks, and then we'll get right into it. And then we'll get the link down in here in the description for y'all just shortly. Here we go. So everybody, so there we go. Link is up there in the description. Tonight I'm kind of just doing a talking stream, as everybody heard. I'm hoping the notification went out with, because I really want to interact with my viewers, honestly. So I'm hoping we have some of my viewers over here, because I want to hopefully start bringing in some interaction on to really give my channel a highlight, so to speak. We've been streaming on all the channels, which is fine, but I want to give my channel a highlight tonight. Give it a little bit of a piercing flair on it. So let's see. What have I been up to lately? Okay, so I'm gonna kind of start by talking about where I've been for a while. Let me turn up my mic just a tiny bit. Alright, so I'm gonna start off talking about where I've been, because I've been up to a lot of nothing, honestly. So this summer, highlight of my summer really was I went to a camp for visually impaired youth, 11 to 18, I believe the age was, but we had some older and some younger there by a little bit. It was called Adventure Camp, and it's with a group called Alpha Point, and there are some really cool people up there. A little bit of a description, they do quite a bit of activities, really focusing on highlighting skill, getting out and getting kids out in the open, doing a lot of skills and just these things that a lot of people a lot of, kids never really get the opportunity to do, or especially get to do with peers like ourselves. So it was a very memorable experience for me, and I feel my brother went with me, had my girlfriend there with me. She went also, a couple of her friends quite a few new people I'd never met before. It was a very, very unique experience. Really made a lot of memories there, to be honest, because here's the thing. Let me tell you guys, when you get out of high school, I know a lot of my audience are younger. And let me tell you something. When you get out of high school, it's sometimes hard when you're with a disability, especially with multiple things that may be making it a little more a little bit more difficult to navigate your life around. You know, when you're in get out of school, and if you're in a position I was, we did my best just to make sure I graduated, and I did graduate. For those that don't know, 3 months back, and got a diploma at that. Had to go about it in different routes than some, but it's still the same piece of paper at the end of the day, and it means the same thing to me, and even more important, means the same to my future employers, which is more important to me at this point in time. Than at the end of the day, I don't need a piece of paper to tell me my self-worth, honestly. I could give a shit less what the American education system tells me my capabilities are, but that being said, I got it accomplished and I got it done. So that's that, you know. But when I got out of school, I was not ready for a lot of experiences, and the crushing reality that this is life now, that I'm 18 now, and you know, playtime's over. So I went to this camp because I was like, I want to have one more experience like a kid would have, because I never got that a lot when I was little. I was always very sheltered. I was always staying inside. That's not to say I didn't do things, but I didn't ever do well at any camps except that same camp when I went to the tech camp with a friend a while back. With my friend Kill Barker. Go check out his YouTube channel, Kill Barker's Fun Adventures. He's only uploaded 2 videos on there as of yet. You'll find his content to be completely different than mine, but I'll give him a little shout out as it is. You know, I've found that you know, no one really prepared me, and I knew it was going to be this way, but so now I'm just trying to catch up on all the things that people with disabilities got to do to get a job, things like that. And let me tell you, it's a lot harder to organize that stuff for people like me in a wheelchair. It's not easy, and you know, so I've been behind on YouTube. Uploads wise, my March 31st stuff is still up there, but I've only published those 5 videos and stuff. For those that are into this weather stuff, I ask that you go check out that playlist, because I put some time. I put about a day, like I'd say 5 or 6 hours into researching the description, and typing it out, editing that playlist description, and eventually I'll probably put that description, I'll probably copy paste it into all of those videos eventually when I get done editing that stuff. But honestly, it's going to be a while. I also have tons upon tons of videos on that computer. Let me tell you, like over 1,000. And you know, I'm trying to get it done. I really am, but I've been dealing with some mental health struggles since you know, June in the summer. Well, really since April, but it's been a little bit more behind the scenes even for me to where I've had so many things going on I didn't recognize it or push down some of those things that were bothering me, and that's been something that I've been looking into. And as you guys know, in the past, I've been candid about mental health and all that, saying that, you know, it makes it really hard to get things done for me. I struggle with that quite a bit, keeping my motivation for my daily tasks. So I'm working on that, because it is a little tricky for me from time to time. So yeah, I've been kind of just trying to catch up with my mental health stuff. I went to this camp, had a very, very great time. I'm sad to say I had to leave it. They had activities such as swimming. Some of them I were not able to do, like ropes course and horseback riding, but typically outdoorsy type things. We had a campfire. By the way, I'll probably see if I have the permission of a certain somebody to post a certain karaoke track on YouTube, or at least a portion of that, because it was so fun, and I think you guys, especially my music-minded individuals, the couple of you that are out there, would love to see that. Hoping to record more of those tracks if you're watching. I appreciate it, and I'll ask you about that. I don't know if you're watching, but I don't want to give any information away that would ruin the surprise, y'all. But we have a really nice track, a little snippet of one that I could put out there for everybody. It was just a time capsule into what that week of my life was like. Very, very good week, honestly. I can really say it's probably the biggest highlight of the It's probably the biggest highlight of the year for me, honestly. I mean, that and my graduation party and stuff were just really fun. She's had quite a few memorable occasions, but that week definitely very close to me for how fun that was. I'm gonna go ahead and check our live chat, because oh wow, I'm surprised. It's funny because these streams where I kind of enjoy myself, where I'm just talking and interacting, don't seem to get all that much interaction, which kind of sucks, but it speaks for YouTube as a whole. You have to try and break out of your relative community to make a name for yourself anywhere else is difficult sometimes, because it's not about EAS, de-icing, or weather. A lot of people just for like health, mostly. I'm gonna make sure everything's working, because I kind of feel silly talking to myself here. Let me make sure it's working. Okay, I think my audio is working. Hope so. It looks like it is. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's gotten to a point to where lately I'm just trying to stay on task with getting a job. making myself feel accomplished. I've struggled with that for many years, that feeling of accomplishment on many levels of my life, whether that be educational, social. That's something I've always had a bit of a tussle with, and that's many people, honestly. I'm not unique in that, because that's many people, but I've definitely wrestled with that quite a bit throughout my time. Of, and I think of people have probably picked up on that by now. What's really something to me is most of the time I'm able to keep put together. It's actually it makes me nervous how well when I'm upset. But I've noticed a lot here lately that my girlfriend has helped me to open up about things, which, let me do it. It's something I've came to the conclusion of. It's a pain in the neck to try and open up when you've not opened up, but it's better to try and open up about the things you struggle with, because many people struggle with many things, and honestly, it's one of those things, the more you talk, the more you really just get out there, and, it's been we have a guest backstage, I just realized that. It's been a thing to where this year I've came to realize that, opening up about a lot of that mental health struggle is something that a lot of people struggle with, doing in a healthy way. I struggle with a lot of it deep down, but a lot of people, funnily enough, don't realize that from how put together I am, and that's kind of a problem sometimes, but it's something to be worked through, and you gotta just remember to breathe. Sometimes I've learned that this year, that, especially here lately, that I forget to just, and I think that's why I miss camp so much. That camp was really special for me. I won their award that they give out to one camper for the 9 key values. I'll probably, for those that have me on Facebook, be posting a thing about that here pretty soon. Once I can think of what to say and take the pictures of that and this and that. Let me get to our guest. Who do we got backstage? Looks like Gabriel is backstage. I'm not sure. Yep, he's in here. Okay. Yeah, Gabriel.
I'm right here, buddy. I'm right here. I was just listening to what you were saying, man, because what you're saying is pretty much the same thing I've been saying to people a lot of times this past couple weeks. I've just been forgetting to breathe, and to be completely honest, I think we helped each other realize that, pal. Because you're the one who kind of told me to slow down, and then when we reconnected after that camp, you were, very just frazzled and just not you. It wasn't there. Your whole brain was taken up by this. I miss my friends. I miss this camp. I miss this and that and this and this and this. And it's like, whoa, dude, slow down, breathe, please, just breathe.
Yeah. You may want to rejoin, but your audio is doing the little lag thing that does sometimes. I'd say it'll fix by just rejoining it.
Alright, hold on.
But yeah, and something I've said for a long time to people, and it's hard to take one's own advice, but you'd be best suited to just try and step out of your comfort zone a little bit too. I've learned this year to try and, at that camp, I used to not be much for stepping out of my comfort zone, but you get to the point to where you got to do it a little bit, and I was pleasantly surprised. I really was, in my ability, the ability of others to help out, and I think sometimes what I wanted to do is just kind of do streams like these, because Uh, I'm trying to kind of get out, not get out of the AS community, but widen my reach, so to speak, too. Just
I
really
get you, Pearson. I'm
talking.
back here again. I wish we could do things like this too. You know, just get on these streams, because sometimes I feel like people need to know the real struggles of what is going on. I mean, that's oftentimes what I try to convey to my viewers. It makes, not only for my viewers' sake, but it can be an educational moment for people too. I've been thinking about that recently, and a lot of times I've found, just by doing some research today, mental health in specifically the visually impaired community is severely overlooked, even more so than it is in the sighted community. I mean, it shocked me. I was like, this is ridiculous. Wow, like people don't even stop to think. They don't even stop to think the fact that maybe we actually do have feelings, you know?
Well, the best thing to do, honestly, is to just kind of find an outlet. And, with me,
Exactly.
I've realized that, it's been, I've definitely been, had some very low points in my life in recent memory. And I've had a couple high points in my life in recent memory. And
I was
it's
just going
just
to say,
kind of,
I've been there for one of them. I mean, the happiness you displayed when you graduated that high school, oh, buddy, I will never forget that. That was priceless. I swear. I mean, you were in December thinking, I don't know if I can do this. I don't think I can do this. And poof, May comes around and you graduated, passing all your classes. Like, wow. Like, that was just awesome. I couldn't help but just feel happy for you, man, because that was just awesome. It was awesome to see, and that was
and
kind
it
of the
was
same. There was this.
it
I
was
had a similar experience today. Recently I've been feeling kind of down and just anxious about going to college this coming fall. I'm starting college I'm over at the School for Visually Impaired. I'm going to be taking a college class as well over there. One psychology class, just to kind of get my feet wet in what college is actually like and see, is this really for me or not? And I was just feeling real down about it, not real optimistic. But then today I had a call with the Illinois State's Illinois Assistive Technology Program Fund, and they basically asked me, what type of stuff do I use? What type of stuff do I prefer? Do I like to use? What's the thing I'm most comfortable with? Instead of just slamming a technology device down in front of me, like a lot of schools do. I mean, when I was in high school, I don't know how many times they tried to make me use a Chromebook. Oh, I was so about ready to throw those Chromebooks in their face. Because
yeah.
they were always saying, but everyone else uses a Chromebook. Why can't you use a Chromebook? Hello? It's because I'm blind and the screen reader on there is like shit. Like, hello? Of course I'm not going to be able to use this thing. So finally they compromised with an iPad. But as I told the lady on the phone today, I said what pissed me off about that, and of course, pisses me off now, but back then I didn't know any better. I thought it was just something normal. Is the teachers always demanded that the iPad be put up in the front of the classroom while I'm trying to fight with my Braille display and whatnot, and take notes during class, as well as do my assignments and everything else. That was probably one of the biggest stressors that I didn't realize was even a problem and not actually normal. Like, when she heard that, she just chuckled. She's like, wow, how ignorant. I'm like, yeah, exactly. This voiceover is supposed to be used with the touch screen. Hello? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, but this lady, now she's saying, well, since you've been an Apple user, I can justify you using this rather than this. And the computer she's going to order for me, this is actually kind of a special announcement, Pearson. kind of an early birthday present for me, but I'd say it's also because of my schoolwork important, but this device will be for my personal use as well. They are ordering me a MacBook computer.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they're ordering me a brand new MacBook computer. Not to mention, they are ordering me a brand new Victor Reader Stream, the latest generation, because my old one is starting to show its age. And interesting fact about it is it still has all of the old buttons and everything on it. The only difference is it's much smarter. I mean,
It does have Bluetooth, by the way.
yeah, that's what I saw too, and I was like, oh, finally, no more wire when I'm listening to something. Now, that does not mean I'm not going to have a wire hooked up to a weather radio reporting alerts, but yeesh, no more wire when I'm actually trying to listen to a Cardinal game. I can
Indeed.
literally, like, fucking just say, connect to my AirPods, poof, you know, and walk across the room. But yeah, I mean, it definitely, they're ordering me one of those, and then they're ordering me a talking calculator for my college down the road, and then a spare Braille Note Touch. I already have one that I bought for myself, but they're going to order me one because that way, in case mine goes berserk and I have to send it back into Humanware, which is, of course, as you know, the North American office is way up in Toronto. If I have to send it up there, I'm not stuck without a Braille display for approximately at least 4 weeks. You know, I'll still have something to keep chugging along in college with, which I think is pretty smart.
Yeah. You know, we've,
I feel
I've
pretty
never...
optimistic now. And it just took a little getting out of my comfort zone, as you said. You know, you were right before I rejoined. You said, you know, I've never been one to get out of my comfort zone very much. Yeah, immediately when you said that, it just for some reason brought flashbacks to when we first met, pal. I swear. Every time you say that, I'll just think about that. It's almost uncontrollable, to be completely honest. And for those who don't know, we met down at a camp for the blind and disabled over in Purdy, Missouri, down in Berry County. And yeah, he was a skittish young man at the time. Very shy, definitely an introvert. I was completely the opposite. Like, we were polar opposites at the time. Complete opposites. Matter of fact, if I had to say one person, Pearson, that reminds me of how I was way back in the day, it would have to be present day Kale, your friend, pal, your best buddy. Ugh, I swear.
Yeah, I was pretty shy. I had never, you know, I had never been out of, and it was like I was saying before, I had never been out of the house really up until that point, besides family things, and of course, Kale.
That was his first time really being out and about, and it was his first year and my first year at that camp were the same year. And I mean, it was so funny, I swear. Just some of the things that, I don't know, freaked you out that to me were just no big deal. It was just the life of a country boy, I swear.
Black Widow spot. You know, and the funny thing is I live out in the country, and I was like, oh, hell no.
Yeah, exactly. There was actually... Yeah, that's actually a very funny story. We were camping out in the woods for a night, and we had just laid down in our tents for just an hour afternoon break after our lunch, and suddenly they come in and they said that there's a Black Widow spider on the ceiling of our tent. And I wasn't fazed by it, to be completely honest. I was not fazed at all. But poor Pearson, oh my god. If looks could kill, I'm betting the counselor who said that would not be alive.
I was not important. Gabriel said something along the lines of, it was a part of Mother Nature, and I think that's the first time that the word "frick that" in the less PG phrasing went through my mind at Camp Barnabas. It wouldn't be the last, but it was definitely the biggest first. I had that reaction. I was like, "Oh hell no," because there's one thing that people should know about me. I don't mess with spiders. I don't mess with snakes, and I don't really like any bugs either.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Keep them away from me.
I failed to realize that as a tiny 8-year-old. I was just stuck in my own little world, and I swear it's kind of funny because that kind of kick-started a friendship. I don't know how or why, but it really did, because then we came back next year, and of course we didn't really see each other that much because we were kind of separated, but then that was the end of it for 10 years. I mean, you went your way, I went my way, and we were like, okay, whatever, we won't see each other again. And then suddenly, poof, July 2020 or June 2022 comes around, and oh, God's gift of love keeps on giving.
Yeah, we got.
That was probably one of the craziest miracles of my life.
That was very insane.
When you asked that question, I was like, what the hell? I was literally thinking the same thing, but I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah,
it's stupid.
It was.
It was insanity.
And over the past, one of my things here lately, because I've been kind of having the sad feeling, kind of having a bored feeling. I've been digging into some history here lately. Of course, people that know me, and this is a whole other topic, but people that know me know I'm into a lot of ghost stories, a lot of creepy stories. I've been reading some books from an author, Janice Tremere, about Missouri, and one of her books is very interesting, Haunted Route 66, Ghosts Along the Mother Road, and it talks about Route 66 history, which, if anyone doesn't know, Route 66 was kind of turned into a sort of highway from Chicago, Illinois to I think Los Angeles, California, if I remember correctly.
Exactly. It went all the way from Chicago to Los Angeles, and it started in the 20s. Matter of fact, it started in the Roaring 20s, continued all the way through the 50s. Matter of fact, it didn't really stop growing until President Dwight D. Eisenhower declared that we need interstates. And then they closed the highway down, tore it up, and redistricted most of it. A lot of it is Interstate 55, parts of it are 64, parts of it on Interstate 70. It just
I-44.
I say I-44 as well down through Oklahoma. It definitely it's got some stories to tell. There's a lot of interesting history, and actually I love reading there's a site that I follow on Facebook entitled Vintage St. Louis and Route 66, and it's literally all about how St. Louis and the Illinois side of St. Louis kind of paved the way along Route 66 and became such a thing. And it just, I don't know, it's just, there's something awesome about reading those old stories. I mean, they've even had things from the Alton Telegraph, which is an old newspaper. It's actually been in Alton in operation. Gosh, I think I saw one time there was an article commemorating something that had just happened in like 1854 or something. So, I mean, it's been in operation for a long time. But they share articles from those papers. Sometimes I'll see things about Springfield as well, and I will say, for those who are looking into it, don't go in there not thinking you're not going to have any ghost stories. Whew.
You
You're gonna
definitely
find
have.
some freakies.
There's definitely some creepy ones along that area. A lot of these
Mm-hmm.
areas, I've been reading quite a bit on a lot of these areas, and there's quite a few interesting stories about old old areas that were between Springfield and St. Louis that have quite a few eerie stories. Rolla seems to have been Rolla, Washington, Missouri, and Potosi, and between those areas seemed to be a paranormal hotspot for a lot of creepy
Rolla is
activities.
scary as shit, man. I swear. There have been stories I'll read out of Rolla and even just out of Phelps County in general, and it's like, ugh, no way, no way, no thank you, no thank
One
you.
that I will share is a story that struck me as eerily disturbing. There's many of these across the U.S. Stories like these. They're definitely uh, not just native to this area, but the story of near a little small town called Crocker, oddly enough, where the WNG 648 station is
Transmitter
located
sits.
for those that maybe that knows the weather type stuff. There's a little road. There's a little hollow down through there. It's a small hollow. Uh, I'm trying to remember the official name for it, but it's a very old, secluded old road, and they call it Crybaby Hollow. And there's some eerie. I'd never heard of this place before until I read this book, and there are some eerie stories that really kind of creeped me out. A lot of local superstition. The one thing about the Ozarks is there's a lot of old wives' tales that were passed down. You had folklore and superstition in this area was very strong because you have a lot of mountain type area folks with the Boston Mountains and the you know
Mm-hmm.
and
So you've got the
mountains over
Boston
in
Mountains, then you've got the Ozark
yeah,
Mountains over down by southeast
Ozarks and
Missouri.
yeah,
Yeah,
quite a few rural areas.
you've
So
got
you have a lot of uh, younger. I mean, not younger. You got a lot of older tradition steeped in this area from Civil War and some pre-Civil War stuff that has just been passed on for years and years. And in Crybaby Hollow, the story this was just a striking ghost story to me. There was many stories, and the thing about urban legends and ghost stories is it's there's a little bit of truth usually in every story. Is the thing. Most stories are embellished and have been, you know, made into
mm,
crazier events by small towns and gossip. But the story of Crybaby Hollow is that a woman lost her child. There's a couple different variations. One of them says that a carriage carrying the woman and child was flipped over. One of them said that the child may have jumped off the carriage. Or in the creepiest version, the woman's carriage stopped and she couldn't fix it, and so she had to leave the oldest child, who she can carry, in the carriage. She came back and the child had been taken, and there was blood all over the carriage. But the creepier variations of this story come from in the area. Supposedly, there you can hear the sounds of a woman crying and screaming for a child, and the sound of a baby crying. Well, this story really creeped me out, especially when some of these other parts came in about you would see red eyes glowing, and the many locals won't talk about it actually in the Crocker area. They believe the piece of land has been cursed since Native Americans being around, that the piece of land was cursed. And some of the folklore stories are just eerie to me. Have a very otherworldly vibe, and it talked about how late at night, especially between the hours of about 11:30 in the night, you would hear that sound of a baby crying. A lot of reports and even some audio recordings that this lady had caught that. Her car would stop, and they couldn't get the car to turn back on. It would stall out in that area, and you couldn't get the car to run again. Which is definitely eerie as hell. That's some creepy stuff. And the creepiest part of it is on the car would appear claw marks, which is claw marks and the hand and like tiny handprints, like of a child. So that is one that definitely stuck out to me as pretty eerie. And there was a couple. There's one that's a little similar. That's in the Rolla area, St. James to be specific. And if we want to, I can go into that one too, because if we're in the ghost story mood, we can go into that one and take a little deep dive into that area, just as a little bit of a highlight. Or we can kind of jump over here into some interesting history about Branson, Missouri. Let's do that, actually. Let's talk about so up here in Branson, after the Civil War, of course, you had a lot of rebels from the South that didn't have homes because of all the wartime activities that had gone on. A lot of food was scarce, things like that were scarce, so crime went up in the Ozarks area. I
was going to say, I think I read somewhere that crime was equivalent, if you were to put it in perspective of rates per capita based on number of people, it was pretty much equivalent to like what you see in Chicago today, like all over the Ozarks, like not specific cities, like everywhere, from like basically from like where Lake of the Ozarks sits now all the way down to the Boot Heel. I mean, when I read that sometime, I was like, just, oh my god, that's freaky. You know,
a lot of tension in the time. You had a lot of vigilante groups because you had, for one, you had these law-breaking citizens. You had alcohol and distilleries running rampant over here in the St. Louis area. You had all this type of thing going on. So you start to see a lot of vigilante groups, and I don't mean just like KKK, I mean like all kinds of vigilantes, not just racially motivated, but I mean just in general. One historical example would be the Bald Knobbers up here in Taney County. So let's go in and talk about them a little bit, because that was an interesting piece of history.
The Bald Knobbers are kind of creepy. They're definitely, I'm just going to say it this way, they're a group that I am glad is mostly extinct.
See, they have, they had formed, I forget the man's name, I'm trying to remember, because I read it in a book just a little bit ago, and this stuff kind of interested me, and I was just like, you know, what the hell, let's talk about it. They formed after one man who was supposedly a Civil War soldier. So let me, this will give you a bit of an image of really how this played out. This guy's like 6'3". He's like a Civil War soldier. He had ran a saloon, and he was always carrying 2 pistols, supposedly from the account given in the book. And he was very charismatic, very, you know, attention-grabbing guy, and he came into the area, and he was kind of disgusted by what he saw with all these groups of just people running against the law and not obeying law, and destroying homes and just anything unlawful, hurting people, abusing people, just really anything you can think of. And so he and a bunch of people started to get together, and there was a bunch of juries, and because usually what would happen is these people that were breaking the law usually had family in the area, so they had crooked juries that would be on their trials of court. And of course this pissed a lot of people off, especially the people who were trying to be good, outstanding citizens. And a lot of people were not punished in the town's eyes correctly. So they organized a group after one event with two brothers, where they, I think they said like 500, 600 men. So we're talking like a lot of people, just all kinds of professions came together and said, alright, this is enough. We've had enough of these acts going on. So you had bartenders to preachers, you had all kinds of people, guys just getting together saying, we're going to protect our communities. Well, good idea in theory, but vigilantes have the key tendency, no matter who they are based on or rooting for, to get out of hand.
And that's the truth.
Indeed they did. They started to get as bad as, they would beat and abuse and, whatever, do all these terrible things to people they were sinning or incorrect. They would try and bring a bunch of people to justice, but they were very, very trigger happy. They were very your typical idea of how Wild West would be. They were pretty crazy. And what ended up happening is the Anti-Bald Knobbers was a gang that formed up after the Bald Knobbers started to go a little crazy with their power and do some of the same thing that these unlawful groups were doing. And they would try and go after all these people in the Bald Knobbers, and eventually the group started to split up. The Bald Knobbers did, and one of the things the Bald Knobbers would do is they would threaten that if somebody didn't join the Bald Knobbers, that things were going to happen to them, such as burning their houses, kidnappings, just really any vile, unlawful thing you can think of. The Bald Knobbers were threatened in the name of peace, so to speak, which very, very hypocritical there, but such as the 1800s, and they ended up disbanding. I'm trying to remember the exact year. And what ended up happening is their leader, the guy that was 6 foot tall and all this, ended up trying to challenge somebody to join them, threatening them, and the guy ended up shooting them. And so the reign of the Bald Knobbers on the Ozarks, especially in Taney and Christian and Stone counties, kind of came to an end. But there's a lot of creepy history involved in there. There was quite a few men and women killed by the Bald Knobbers. I think they said, the estimate is around 30 to 40, but it could have been lower, could have been a little higher, who knows. But it's just little stories like that are very interesting to read, and the ghost story falls in that a lot of those, some of those people that were uh, executed by the bald lovers, and some of the bald lovers themselves still haunt the area. And so there's some really otherworldly history if you really look into the behind the really tourist type attraction in Branson. You'll find a lot of eerie stories. One of the other interesting things about Branson is the Titanic Museum in Branson. After the Titanic sunk, a lot of artifacts from the Titanic that were recovered were brought to the museum in Branson, where there is a kind of a morbid attraction they have is that you go in and they give you the tour and give you the name of the passenger, and at the end you find out if you would have lived or died on the Titanic. So just kind of an interesting thing there. That museum also supposed to be haunted. They say that in the display cases, there's often handprints on the insides of the display cases that will show up in the mornings on the glass. So people will come back in there and they'll show up. There's sometimes things that'll be moved around. A lot of footsteps heard in the area, your normal ghost stories, but just kind of a sad and eerie part of history brought to the Branson area. One more interesting piece of history there, which I plan to kind of talk about this stuff more because I feel like it's just kind of fun to talk about, is the Lake of the Ozarks history is really interesting in itself. That being one little small fact about the lake is that it is actually when the lake was built from the Niagara, Osage, and all these rivers that stem into the lake, a lot of little small towns were evacuated before they built it, and then basically just let go under the water. One of those, I'm trying to remember the name, I want to say Mill Creek, possibly, or I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's a real small town under the lake, and it was a pretty big town at the turn of the century, but was evacuated, and so it just basically got flooded out, so to speak. The whole cemetery, everything in there was really just put underwater, so to speak. There's still houses and buildings and all these things underwater, under the lake, pretty much. So that's kind of an eerie thought that a whole town, of course no one was killed directly by that because they evacuated, but still to think that there was a little ghost town under the Lake of the Ozarks is a creepy thought, and to think that the town itself could have been haunted, brings an air of creepiness to it, because, something about the idea of cemetery underwater screams creepy to me. But
you say there's something creepy about
there's
that.
There's many stories, and honestly, if you want to, Gabriel, what we might start doing is every now and then we might just kind of talk about some things like that, because, I don't know, I just think it's fun to kind of do some research and really just talk about some things like that. It's kind of, history intrigues me, the ghost story part intrigued me, and it's just kind of interesting. One day I'd like to really talk about some of the Civil War stories I read in this book, because it was very kind of interesting to read all those stories. And then one day I'm going to go into the small town in my county itself, known to be one of the most haunted places now, and kind of how it's gotten a very bad reputation over the past year for a very, very violent crime. So that will be something I'll probably cover in another thing, because I find it eerie and it's creepy. This town has been creepy for a long time, and Well, just look up, and for anybody that wonders, look up Windyville, Missouri. It was just recently on the like national news like 2 years ago. You won't have any trouble finding anything on Windyville about Windyville online anymore. I can promise you that. So that'll be an episode that thing I'll talk about. What I'm probably gonna do is, what I'll do is, if we have people that want to talk about something from their area, like a request for a town is what we'll probably do. Then I can do a little bit of research and just kind of talk about some of the interesting things I find. And we can maybe have somebody write in comments to share their interesting or creepy stories, historical accounts. I have quite a few that I'll save from a later date myself, but I do have quite a few from my old house, a couple of my own stories that are very, very eerie. But yeah, I was going to say, so that's what I've been doing here lately. Is I've just been listening to this book. Again, go check out Haunted Ozarks and Haunted Route 66 Ghosts Along the Mother Road. Two very interesting books from Janice Tremere, new author I'm taking a look into for historical ghost stories. That she has a lot of history in her books, is the thing. Yeah, you'll find some ghost stories don't really tell much history, it just says the ghost part, but to make it more interesting, it's sometimes best just to know some history too. It keeps it a little real and a little more creepy, to be honest. Makes things hidden a little more home. And there's a lot of stories I'd never really heard of. Silver Dollar City in Branson has a few stories. So that was an interest, especially the cave under Silver Dollar City. So that's another thing we can go into one day. But you know, it's been a really interesting thing to look into, and one of the things I've also been doing research into is creepy stories revolving around weather events, and I found quite a few that might interest you. You guys, for our weather viewers. Many might remember the hearing of 1999, the Bridge Creek, Oklahoma tornado that hit near the Oklahoma City, Moore Bridge Creek area.
Yeah, and that tornado was one of the strongest that was ever seen.
One of the strongest, indeed, and one of the weirder facts about it is at one point there was a UFO. There was a UFO incident right beside the tornado.
Oof.
Gary England, one of the meteorologists that were covering it, has spoken about the incident that there was a cylindrical tube that was spinning. It was lighting up, and it was holding still in the middle of the winds, and it was spinning and lighting up on the helicopter footage. Did not fly like a normal aircraft or anything we'd ever seen before, and only appeared for a couple of seconds. So of course could have been an illusion, could have been, you know, many different things. Just an interesting little but there was an episode of a show about you're talking about how that had happened. So it kind of brought a level of interestingness to that story that the head meteorologist was being interviewed about a UFO. So that was an interesting UFO type story. There's a couple different stories like that. one of the more eerie, uh, things I've heard of is the Gerald, Texas 1997 tornado. Otherwise known as the
Oh,
Dead Man Walking tornado. And this tornado
yeah,
is
that tornado.
creepy.
Oh, there are some creepy stories
It's,
behind that tornado. That tornado is creepy, and I think the even freakier part is that part with, the dead man walking. I mean, I think what I heard somewhere is that there was literally somebody literally captured video of what looked to be a dead body walking. Like, it, oh, you can't even think.
so
It's
what
just
happened with the
freaky.
tornado is that there was there's been a supposed Native American legend that says if you see a dead man walking, if you see what they call the dead man walking in a tornado, you're gonna die, and that's when the tornado looks like a person. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the vortices inside the tornado make it look like a person. Well, there's one photo, and I think his name is Swegel Studios. I believe did a video on this not too long ago. Look up the dead man walking um, lost media. I think it's called Tornado Lost Media Dead Man Walking photo. If you look that up, you'll find his video, and he does a really good explanation, better than I can do, about this. But many people, before this tornado was moving very slowly, um, many people in the path of it said it looked like a dead man walking. You could see the legs, the arms, the torso, like the body of a man in the tornado. And one of the legends is, and it's kind of similar to fact, it's one of those myths that's kind of based in fact, is that when you see that monster like demon looking man walking, you're gonna die. And the truth is if you see that means that it's a very strong tornado, because all those vortices were going on inside that tornado and gave it the impression of somebody walking into the town. Pretty much you could see the legs and the arms within the tornado from the way the clouds and all that made it look literally like somebody. And the Native American legend said that when you see it, you're gonna die. And the truth is that you well might, because if you're seeing that, you're seeing a very violent tornado, and if you're that close, then you're probably close to death. Because if you're that close to be able to see that, then you're in a very dangerous spot. So that's a legend that's close to truth. And just a really interesting story. Look up the photo of Dead Man Walking for our sighted viewers. Dead Man Walking Gerald Tornado. It'll come up. Very eerie image. It's a lot of people into tornado stuff, but it said it always gives them nightmares. I'm trying to think of some other interesting tornado related stories that kind of give me the creeps or were just interesting. One of the most prominent comes to mind from Joplin, Missouri, and that's the butterfly people. And I can remember this
Yeah.
being on the news when I was like 5 or 6 when that tornado hit. I would have been just barely a little over 6 years old. Many children, and I mean a lot of children, that were in the middle of that tornado in unsheltered areas that ended up safe, said that there were these butterfly-like entities that would keep them safe. They would, push the winds aside with the wings, things like that, stand over them, angelic type beings that would keep them safe. And what was interesting about it is you didn't have one kid saying this, like an imaginary like coping mechanism thing. You didn't have two kids. You had like these butterfly-like people, people with wings, over them, keeping them safe. One story I can vividly recall is a kid that ended up rolled up in a thing of carpet and said that before they had gotten rolled into that thing of carpet by the winds, that they had just barely seen that butterfly-like person. They were really tall, standing over them, and that there was a sense of calm in the air, and that the winds kind of slackened off right over them. And this was a huge staple after that tornado of really just Joplin. There's murals actually down there right now. That if you go down there, the butterfly murals in Joplin. So not so much a ghost story as just an interesting, kind of a sad, but interesting story, and kind of makes me, kind of makes you wonder if you're religious, that makes you think that God might have had something to do with that, because, a lot of kids said the same thing when asked how they dealt with the tornado or what happened to them. Many kids that were all interviewed, not in the same room or anything, had no connections to each other, all said the same thing, that they had had these butterfly-like entities save them, or stand over them, or, watch over them when the tornado was going across. And, so that's kind of an interesting story from Joplin. Also, kind of a more creepy note from that tornado is said that I read somewhere that multiple first responders would report a huge increase in ghostly activities in their home. So like lights turning on and off, things like that after the Joplin tornado. A lot of those people that were participating in search and rescue had a lot of creepy occurrences happen in their lives directly after that tornado. I couldn't find any first-hand accounts of that, but just I had heard multiple reports of that. So from a tornado that brought as much tragedy to a small town as it did, killing 158 directly, 3 indirectly, it's a very kind of an interesting and creepy thought to think of the butterfly people as a kind of an uplifting type story, and the part about the first responders experiencing a lot more paranormal activity, that's kind of eerie to me. The thought of that is very really eerie, very creepy, because I can imagine for many, I can even remember around here when people were doing search and recovery efforts, just hearing it on the news, and there was just a feeling in the air. You knew that something, even when I was really little, I knew that something very terrible had happened. You could just feel it in the air that day, and the muggy, just unease in the air. And I've always paid attention to that sense, because I've only had it a couple of times, and creepily enough, for coincidences wise, 8 years later, on May 22nd, 2019, this 8-year anniversary of the Joplin tornado, another PDS day would be issued for the same exact region, and we would see some pretty bad tornadoes and hail, actually. Carl Junction had an EF3 along with Jeff City, which had also received a tornado back in 2011. That one's kind of overlooked because it wasn't too big, but that same area was hit with an EF3 tornado. Of course, Joplin itself wasn't, but Carl Junction, not too far from Joplin, was. So that's just a creepy fact, because 8 years to the day, almost to the hour, we had a tornado going on in the same areas. So that always, that gave me the worst creepy feeling back when it happened. It was a moderate risk. I can vividly recall waking up to it, because May of 2019 was insanity anyway. April and May were for me up here. And the 22nd was really crazy because we had up to softball size hail in some areas over here, along with multiple reports of tornadoes and wind damage. So yeah, that was an interesting little tidbit about the Joplin tornado that, 8 years later to the day, same thing would happen.
And kind of freaky too with, weather history. Just, thinking about it, I'm pretty certain, I'm almost definitely certain there's definitely going to be haunted legends about this event that just popped up. I follow a thing on Twitter for weather history things, and it said, on this date in 1715, a fleet of 12 Spanish treasure ships had departed from Havana, Cuba, on their way back to the Americas, on their way back to the American continent, when they encountered a hurricane. 7 out of the 12 ships were lost, and the gold from those ships can still be found washing up on the shores of what is now present-day Vero Beach, Florida.
Huh. That's definitely an eerie thing to look into,
I'm thinking there's probably some hauntings in that one, and then there's definitely some in this one, too. Also on this day, in 1976, a stationary thunderstorm developed in the heat of the afternoon and would produce 10 inches of rain over the Thompson River Canyon in Colorado. The Thompson Canyon over Colorado, basically where the Colorado River filters right in. And this would cause a massive 25 to 30 foot wall of water to go on a more than 25-mile rampage from and killing ultimately 144 people from Estes to Loveland, Colorado.
Oh, yeah, so definitely an eerie thing there. One of the things, one haunted, I may have to check up on our weather situation here pretty soon tonight, and then maybe get off to bed here pretty soon because I'm pretty tired. But one haunted city that is worth investigating, I'm trying to remember the name, is I believe Albertville, Alabama. In 1908 was hit by a huge tornado which destroyed most of the town. And it's said that the library and some of the streets are still haunted with the sounds of people crying and calling for help from the debris, and from a lot of sounds of screaming and a lot of footsteps, noises in the middle of the night, doors slamming open and shut in the main library, figures in the street, especially running out in front of the cars and vanishing, and other eerie instances such as that where I said to haunt that city in Alabama, I'd have to make sure. But that's an interesting, creepy little story. And again, we can go over some more of these in the future, because for Halloween, especially this year, that may be a special. I think
we should do that for Halloween this year, because there's definitely some creepy. There's definitely some events of past, even recent memories that are probably bringing up creepy as hell stories. Although I will say, though, kind of off subject, but still on the weather or whatever, we might be doing an even more intense stream tomorrow night, because St. Louis is already calling for at least 3 waves of thunderstorms to move over the metro between like 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. tomorrow night. And I'm just going to say it this way, I'm not expecting crazy amounts of rain, but judging by how much rain those thunderstorms we got the other day produced, those things were insanely heavy. I mean, I think my friend from church said in just 30 minutes they picked up 2.5 inches of rain.
Well, that's
And then, of course, Wednesday night, too, we're also going to have to watch that, because I was listening to KSDK tonight, and they're like, Wednesday night could be one we need to watch. We have a first alert day on Wednesday night, as we are currently monitoring the potential. It is not confirmed, but it is potential there for severe weather ahead of a warm front. I'm like, oh no, not again.
So tonight, let's go over what we got tonight, because it could be quite a showdown here, actually, depending on if this gets going or not. I don't know if it's going to.
Well,
kind of doubt it, but if it does, it's going to be wild.
I will say this much: we've already got, I think we've already got some thunderstorms over Kansas and Oklahoma. Nothing insanely strong, but definitely producing a bunch of heavy rain. Because I've seen a bunch of flood advisories.
We have a flood watch until 10 tomorrow morning. I'm not sure all the St. Louis areas are included. I know Cole, Monitor, and Osage counties are.
I was going to say, I know I saw Cole, Monitor, and Osage. I think I also saw Crawford, Washington, basically the counties that border on the Phelps County, which doesn't surprise me at all, actually, because that area, if you have Phelps County, just expect it, pretty much. If Phelps County's in something, Well,
they said Camden, Dallas, Laclede, Wright, Benton, Miller, Morgan, Phelps, Shannon, Texas. I'm trying to think. Am I missing any? Hickory and Marys County. I believe that's all the counties in that.
Yeah, so a pretty good size. Yeah,
from Springfield.
So a pretty good
and
size. Pretty good size chunk.
1 to 4 inches possible, with some extreme amounts, a very limited possibility, but some extreme amounts up to 6 inches. Now, honestly, I think they're probably overkilling it, but I don't know. They've been saying today that area of heavy rain could develop. My county seems to be the farthest southwest county in there. So
I will say the interesting thing about these storms is they're moving southeast again. So
yeah,
we got to watch northwest into west central Missouri, and yeah, there's probably stuff going, because looking at my other device connected to my other set of headphones, and it said Kansas City recorded thunder.
Let me see if I can.
So, unless my weather radio is being stupid,
Let me check up on something real quick. Looks like the only severe weather warnings we have right now is in Colorado, so nothing I'm worried about yet. But so yeah, I think we've had us an interesting chat, Gabriel. If you want to keep it on, you can. But I'm gonna jump off here. But we also have the marginal.
I actually figure I'll probably have you just. I'll probably have you just end it. But I will say before you do, I could not believe the Xing conditions this morning. It was insane. I managed to log three new FM signals on my radio this morning. One of those being WITZ-FM in Jasper, Indiana, which is, for people who don't know, over by about 100 miles south of Indianapolis. So, yeah, it was coming in pretty good this morning. I actually got a whole newscast on video. They were doing their news update at 5 a.m. Eastern. I'm like, I'm going to record this, see how long it lasts. And it lasted for 30 minutes. I was freaking out. I was like, damn, that was definitely Tropo. And I then managed to get a multiple broadcast cycles, plus the finally waiting for station ID for, let's just say it this way, a finally video logged station out of Kentucky, KZZ 61 on the weather radio in Whitesville, Kentucky, which is extremely hard to get. It's a Paducah station on Channel 4. Oh, hold on, what's this? Oh, never mind. Sorry, I saw something pop up from Wichita and I was like, uh-oh, what's that? But never mind. Anyway, but it's a 300 watt transmitter. It's kind of like how you struggle often with getting like Alta, and I swear. And I've only gotten it one other time, and that was last week Wednesday, but I wasn't able to get a cycle of it. But yeah, this time it was actually fading in, overpowering Salem and everything else that was behind it. And you'll be able to hear that there was a ton of shit behind it, I'll say that. There was also a bunch of... I also got a cycle of Jacksonville this morning. Springfield, Illinois this morning. Hawk Point, Missouri. Putnamville, Indiana. McLeansboro, Illinois. Newton, Illinois. Let's see. Bedford, Indiana. Shelbyville, Illinois. Bowling Green, Kentucky. And Madisonville, Kentucky. And Evansville, Indiana. So I had a lot of... Oh, and Marion, Illinois. So I had a lot of broadcast cycles that I caught this morning. And that's not even counting... What is that?
Maryville.
What is it?
Maryville.
Oh, shoot. Well, that came out of nowhere.
I'm not really getting... Oh, there's Kilson.
Yikes.
think
So
that's
it sounds like it
Carlson.
would be possible Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Severe storms again possible and the risk for localized flooding. The highway system.
So that seems to have faded out. I think that might have just been
It might just been a skip, buddy.
nah, because I'm getting killed. So. Yeah, worse than that now. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
The temperature was 72, the dew point 70, and the relative humidity 93%. The wind was calm. The pressure was 30.12 inches. For other cities in Missouri, it was clear with it. Anyone overcome by heat should be moved to a pool and
So that was Carrollton.
Young children. To a pool and shaded low chance of showers. Stroke is an emergency. The 80s. Developed airport services after midnight across central Missouri and rules are expected to continue through the weekend. Once again, it's 11 p.m. in Chillicothe County. The temperature was 72, with 2.70 and a relative humidity 93%. The wind was calm. The pressure was 30.12 inches. This is National Weather Service NOAA Weather Radio, KPND 34 in Carrollton, Missouri. The current time is 11:27 p.m. Central Daylight Time. The 7-day forecast for Carrollton and the surrounding area.
So yeah, there's Carrollton, Missouri. Nice.
Definitely nice.
Index values up to 101 early in the evening. Thursday.
But that's Jamestown.
A slight chance of showers and thunderstorms in the morning. Then a chance of showers
Yep,
and
sounds
thunderstorms in
good.
the afternoon. Highs in the upper 80s.
Let's make sure.
Lows in the upper 60s. Monday, partly sunny. A chance of showers in the afternoon. Highs in the mid-80s. See siren and thunderstorms. Flood watch in effect from midnight. Tuesday morning. Flash flooding caused by excessive rainfall is possible. Where a portion of central Missouri, including the following areas: Boone Mill, Callaway Mill, Cole Mill, Monotone and Osage Mill.
Boone, Callaway, Cole, Monotone, and Osage. And Harrison. That's kind of odd.
Well, buddy, you definitely got a tropo starting because Springfield is getting Fort Smith now.
Outlook for the next Tuesday through Saturday. Hot conditions are expected to continue through the weekend. on to marginally severe storms again possible and the risk for localized flooding. The lead of the Highway 65 corridor. The heat will continue to build back up this week with western Missouri and southeast Kansas remaining the hottest with heat index values from 105 to 110 and will gradually spread eastward through the end of the week. Spotter information stated. Spotter activation will not be needed through tonight. South Central.
14, I think.
Skies were partly clear.
Harrison.
A weather advisory is in effect for the following counties: Carroll, Arkansas. Will not be needed through tonight. This weather conditions are expected from midnight tonight through Tuesday morning.
Clinton. So yeah, folks, I think I'm gonna log off. I may end up having to do a coverage stream if I'm still awake later, but I'm gonna log off and end this one here.
Yep, we'll
We
do. I'll do. Go ahead and just get off here. But yeah, we definitely are gonna have some stuff this week. We just don't know when.
Yeah, we'll have to see what tonight does. If I don't make another stream, I'll definitely be catching videos, because I am sure my videos will wake me up. And
Yeah.
I will catch
Got 'em
y'all. Oh yeah. They'll get me, I have no doubt about that.
All right. I will see you later, buddy.
Alrighty.